Hey Estes, welcome back to Esthetician Edit. On today's podcast, we have Marissa here from MDR Skin Studio, and she's been an esthetician for 15 years, and she actually specializes in acne facials. So I'm gonna go ahead and let her talk a little bit more about, how it is that you got started within the industry, and maybe talk a little bit about your studio that you have here in Miami in the Brickell location, and then we'll just get right into it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I got started when I was 18 years old and I was trained in New York City. I wasn't positive of what I wanted to do with my life. I actually took a year off from school, and my mother, who I have a really close relationship with, she's always been in makeup and skincare, and she signed up for aesthetic school. And she was so excited about it, and I had just taken like a gap year. So I decided to follow her footsteps and go to school with her, and I fell in love with skincare, and I started working at, actually Dermalogica was the brand I started with. It was more of like a prescriptive retail type of space, so I really just focused on, they called it face mapping and recommending the right products for people. I did some facials there, and then I moved into more of a medical spa setting where I did like laser hair removal, photo facials, clear and brilliant. So I really dabbled in the other end of aesthetics, which was fun. And fast forward, I moved to Miami about I think like 7 years ago, and I focused more on acne at that point. I got great at extractions, which I love. I really learned like the root causes of acne. And I had two babies, and my son is about to turn a year next week. And I opened my studio when he was about 2 months old. So shortly after he was born. And we're so happy. I have a team of two other girls. And yeah, anyone in Brickell, come see us.
Yeah, I actually went to go visit her, and her facial was amazing. As you could tell, I have a little bit of acne-prone skin over here, and you were able to help me out with that. So thank you again for that.
Of course.
Yeah, so I guess getting into the topic of acne, you mentioned where you discovered the root cause of acne. What would you say is the root cause, if there is a root cause? I know you mentioned or you can kind of just break it down to the basics, like what is acne?
Okay, love it. Well, first, maybe how about I'll explain when I really started understanding acne was I got introduced to a brand called Face Reality, and they have an acne certification course that is so detailed. It explains everything, and I think that was when I first, even years after becoming an esthetician, really started understanding what happens with acne, how to treat it. So yeah, Face Reality, thanks for the start there. And now I'm working with Vivant Skincare, and they also do a university about acne treatment. But just to explain a little about it, acne is more, in my belief, and from those courses, I believe acne is more of a genetic skin disorder that you inherit, like this tendency for acne. And what happens in the skin is there's a process called retention hyperkeratosis, which means when you're acne prone, your pores produce about 4 to 5 times more dead skin cells on a daily basis. So what happens is every single day, all that excess dead skin cells and then sebum, which is the oil, are getting clogged and built up in the pore. So if you're not treating the skin right topically and the right lifestyle, that's just going to keep building, and that clogging of blackheads, comedones can lead to inflamed pimples, cysts, really painful acne. So that's really kind of what's going on at the root of it, if that makes sense.
So if a client comes to you with acne, because you're such a professional at treating acne, you're known for it. I know you've treated Alex Earl's skin, and she had a lot of acne, and honestly, it was very inspiring seeing how her skin has transformed and how she's so clear now. What is the process of when someone comes to you, how do you go about treating them?
That's a great question. Well, anytime I have a new client in my studio, I love to ask them, what brought you here? What are your main concerns? 9 out of 10 times, most of my clients are concerned with some form of acne. And I like to understand, what have you used before? Has anything worked for you? Have you been seeing a dermatologist? Have you gotten facial? So I kind of ask a lot of questions. I like to investigate, hear a little bit more about their experience with their skin. And then I like to explain ask about what home care they're using, and what they've tried. Then I like to assess the skin. I will look at, do I see dehydration? Do I see what kind of acne? Is it non-inflamed, where I just see a lot of congestion that builds up? Or do I also see inflamed acne? Is it a combination? And then I will kind of go through a checklist of, pore clogging ingredients. This is something that can lead worsen acne. You know, what's their lifestyle, and just kind of like ask a lot of questions and go through that.
So I know that you said that acne, you know, is mostly genetic, like it starts from the genetics.
Yeah.
But what would you say also triggers acne? Because especially here in Miami or, you know, in the United States, I know that food is something really big because of the ingredients that are in like the food, as well as some of the ingredients that are in specific like skincare products and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit more about the triggers as well as specific ingredients you would stay away from?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of triggers. I'd say the number one is stress. That's one like very across the board. And stress actually affects women even more than it does men. And it causes us to have more cortisol and more oil, and that gets clogged in the pores. So learning how to manage your stress levels is really important, and learning kind of what stresses you.
I'm like, that's impossible.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're not going to live in a bubble and not be stressed, but just understanding, you know, what kind of triggers it for you, and how you can cope a little better. So that's a big trigger. The cosmetics, you know, pore clogging ingredients. There's actually a lot of great tools now, like Acne Safe checkers.
Yeah, we actually downloaded the app.
Yeah, Acne Safe is a wonderful app. There's a lot out there. When I first started with, you know, treating acne, I actually had like a list from Face Reality, and I would just like look at it and go across and look at each ingredient. It was very tedious. Now you can just copy and paste, and it'll highlight for you. So there's a long list of ingredients, but some of the big ones I'd say will be coconut oil you want to avoid, isopropyl myristate, shea butter is in a lot of things. I can't pronounce this, ethyl hexyl palmitate. Those are some that come to my head. But if you go to that, you know, lookable list online, you can find more. But those are some main ones.
And then other than stress being one of the triggers, what would you say are the like next like top 3 or 4 triggers for acne?
Okay, I'd say diet. Some things in diet definitely can trigger acne. So if you're having a diet high in iodides, it's actually big. You mentioned like in Europe or how in America there's more acne. Well, actually, it's interesting. In Europe, they use about 1/10 of the iodine in their food and in their salts compared to America. And iodine's a huge trigger. So I feel like there's a correlation there.
Is iodine is it like salt?
Yeah, like in salt. They add iodide to our salts as well. So it's in there's certain foods that have like higher amounts. Like for example, asparagus is like high in iodine, weirdly, or kelp. So those are some triggers. And diet is different for everybody. Like some people respond worse to dairy and eggs, for example, because eggs are also high in iodine. So I definitely go through the diet, and anything that's inflammatory that could be triggering acne or disrupting hormones.
Yeah, that's what I wonder if is like, I know that we've kind of gone through like a detective work of like what possibly could be mine, but I honestly, truthfully, am starting to think that it might have to do with dairy because I end up eating eggs every single day. Like I have milk with my coffee every single day. And
is it cow's milk too? It's like dairy.
I know. I drink almond milk.
Okay.
Yeah, I drink almond milk, but I'm getting tested soon with
That's
like
good,
an
like
allergist.
a food sensitivity.
Yeah,
That's important because sometimes it's different for everybody.
Yeah. And sometimes I think just over time, like whereas like maybe years ago it didn't affect you, like over time.
Yeah, your hormones in your body changes.
The overconsumption of something can kind of just like your body's like, okay, enough. Like I need a break from dairy.
Yeah, definitely.
From sugar. For me, I break out, like I will get like I haven't gotten in a while because I've been taking supplements, the Clear Stem supplements.
Love that.
Which has DIM, which is good for your hormones. But I usually get like the chin cystic pimples.
Those are the worst.
And oh my God, and you can't pop them and they're painful. But I notice I'll get those after sugar. Like my trigger is sugar and stress, hands down.
Yep.
Your skin looks really good though.
Thank you.
You're glowing. She got a haircut and she's glowing now.
I love it. How the glow
It changes it all.
Thank you. Also, okay, so I saw like you posted a reel once about like how there is no cure for, I think it was a reel or story, like no cure for acne. And I used to have like the mindset of like, I need to figure out what is causing my acne so I can get rid of it once and for all, like that kind of thing. What would you say to someone who is like acne prone, who they're kind of, you say it's like, what is it, genetically predisposition?
Predisposition. Genetic predisposition,
Yeah, so it's kind of like,
skin disorder.
Is it kind of like having a flare-up?
Yes.
Okay.
So I feel like it's important to understand, okay, the root of it first off can be genetic inheritance of the acne-prone pore, but then learning the triggers. So I believe that, yes, acne can't be cured, that you do one thing and then you'll never get a pimple in your life, and you could eat whatever, sleep with your makeup. No, that's not going to happen. But you can learn to manage it and keep it under control. And like you said, you learned what your triggers are. So kind of having to avoid those triggers. But yeah, acne can almost be like flared. So usually it takes about 90 days for a pimple to form, contrary to popular belief. So sometimes if you change something in your lifestyle, you'll see something 90 days later with that acne flare
It's
up.
the worst.
Yeah, yeah. So
Like, it's never ending.
yeah, I don't want to say like it stays dormant, but it can be triggered. Like almost like you're awakening the beast.
Yeah.
So more just learning what those triggers are and kind of learning to control it.
One trigger that I actually I saw it on TikTok, which honestly everyone's always like, don't listen to TikTok, but sometimes someone will say something and then it kind of solves my problem. So I had 2 weeks ago, I had a Red Bull, and like immediately a few hours later, I started breaking out. And I saw a TikTok of this girl saying that there's a specific, I think it's called sucralose, and it's in Red Bull, and it's in also Celsius and other energy drinks. And it's basically, I think it's Splenda also.
Yeah.
The fake, basically, the artificial sweeteners can cause acne.
Yeah.
So it's so many random things can cause acne. It's just kind of tracking. Do you do any do you recommend to your clients doing any sort of food tracking, diaries, that
Yeah,
sort of thing?
you definitely can. I mean, I would say, if you can try to cut something out, but give it 90 days, see if you see an improvement, like cutting out the dairy or reducing the sugar. Again, foods high in iodides, check those in your diet. Those are important. But yeah, sucralose, actually, I have a bad response to sucralose. It makes me bloated, and then I get it inflames me as well. So I feel like I react in that way.
That's why they technically say anything that has to do with processed foods or foods that you have to open up, that's not something that you can just grab, then it's not good for you, which is why we struggle so much here, because almost everything that you eat is something that you have to open up, you know what I mean, or processed. Sticking to the greens and to the fruits and all that kind of stuff, which is what I'm doing. I actually started that on Monday, so it's I'm now going a week into it.
Wow.
And I noticed that with my skin, it was getting better, but I have moments, it's really weird, I'll have moments where I wake up and it's good, and then the next day I wake up and it's bad again. So it's kind of it fluctuates depending on it. I'm sure, again, stress probably doesn't help. But I'm trying really hard to start to kind of put aside things that I think it could be, like you're saying, to stop, with the sugars, or to stop with the, when I asked her, I actually texted her last night. I'm like, what is the salt? What is it? The electrolytes?
Oh,
or the salts to add into the water?
Oh, but the liquid IV, they have a lot of biotin and B12.
Exactly. There's a bunch of those
triggering,
out there that they tell you, because I'm working out, I'm training for a marathon, etc., and they tell you got to take these things to help you, and I'm scared to take specific ones, because I'm I don't want anything to start triggering me and to make it even worse than what it at least what it feels like, because I know it's really not that bad, but yeah. There's a lot. So you said stress, diet, and then what else?
So some things that are healthy can be a trigger. So for example, supplements are sometimes a big acne trigger. So I always tell people, okay, look at the nutrition facts. Are there high amounts of B12? That can be one. Biotin. Does it have potassium iodide in there? Is there kelp? A lot of times the green powders with this kelp, spirulina, chlorella, sometimes those.
Chlorophyll?
Yeah, it's more really the kelp specifically, but chlorophyll can, because it's more of that higher algae and iodine content. Whey protein, so if you work out a lot, the whey protein in the bars, which much peanut butter, those are some for sure. And then the liquid IVs, Celsius, a lot of people are drinking that, and they have. If you look at it's usually when you see the daily value, when it's 100 plus, 400 plus, thousands plus, it's interesting.
It's not good.
Yeah, so I would be careful with those.
Do you ever have clients where they're just not getting clear, and what do you do in those cases?
So yes, I mean, everyone's a little different. Some people respond really quickly just to topical treatments, and they're clear and wonderful. Some people, the lifestyle's hard. They have a chronically stressed lifestyle, or not sleeping, flying all the time. So there's so many different factors. But I always, ask a lot of questions. I ask them if anything has changed in their lifestyle, in their skincare routine. Sometimes they're being really diligent, and maybe their skin stopped responding. So that could be time, meaning that you need to tweak the routine a little bit. Maybe you need to strengthen it a little bit. Oh, do you need more healing and anti-inflammatory ingredients? So sometimes looking at the products, sometimes coming in a little more frequently for your facials. So in the clearing process, I would recommend like every 2 weeks if it's possible to come in for a facial where you get a good cleaning with extractions. I like to do gentle peels to really get into the pore and shed all that buildup. LED light therapy is wonderful. I love the cryotherapy to really like calm and bring down inflammation, so increasing the treatments. It's really just, I feel with my clients, I like to be their biggest supporters and cheerleaders. You know, I give them realistic expectations. You know, the acne is not going to be gone overnight. You know, how long has it taken for this to occur on the skin? You know, let's have some patience and clearing. We're going to have an ongoing relationship. We're going to text. I'm going to, you know, talk to you and see if we need to make changes accordingly. And then we usually start noticing more progress and improvement.
And within the treatments that you say that you do offer, do you also recommend those who are acne prone to get like laser done on their faces, or would you recommend them to stick to just getting like regular facials?
So lasers are, so if you're talking about someone who's actively, you know, I wouldn't do any like laser resurfacing for scarring or anything until the skin is clear. But there are lasers such as like Aerolace, AviClear. There's some that are coming out that are almost supposed to be like alternative to Accutane, you know, and work on those sebaceous glands and reducing the oil through a laser. So there are some treatments that they can do like that. But in terms of scar treatments, I would wait until after that the acne is cleared up. Yeah.
You're asking because you're going to do laser?
Yeah, but I'm doing laser hair removal.
Okay.
Because for me, ever since I got the dermaplane, I'm trying to think when was the last time that I got the dermaplane done, but I feel like I've noticed the way that my hair has grown is very different than what it used to look like. So I feel like something somewhere, the process, something went wrong. And now I feel like part of why my acne is not clearing up is because of the hairs that I have on my face.
Do you have like coarse hairs you're seeing?
Yeah, like coarse hairs. And I just feel like they've grown out like a lot more than what I used to have. Like I have a lot more facial hair than I did before. And I noticed that like when I'll go and like, you know, pop, I only pop when it's white, like a white head.
Okay.
And I'll go and pop it and I'll put like I'm obsessed with like the Mighty Patches.
Okay.
Those work really well for me.
Okay.
But then when I wake up and I'll take those out and I'll like, you know, check on my skin, I notice that like there might be like one of those like little hairs that kind of like are in between, like kind of like if it was an ingrown.
Okay.
And I feel like that's also what's happening in some areas of my faces because it goes away, but then it grows back with an acne ingrown.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm testing it. I'm testing out the waters right now. For me, it's more of like a project.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm going to get that done and see if that helps or not.
I have some clients, you know, usually if there's coarser hairs and there's a hormonal, you know, condition, the laser hair removal really like smooths up that area. If the hairs are getting clogged, that could
Exactly.
be
That's why. So I kind of want to try that out. I'm also going to, you know, what you said about hormones. I'm also going to get like my hormones checked just to, because, you know, like Sam said earlier, like our body changes, you know, throughout the years. So I feel like it's time for me to kind of just get that checked out and see like, you know, what it could possibly be. Because at first I really thought it was like food and stuff like that. But then I started, you know, removing specific foods out of my diet or specific products. Like I used to use oil-based cleansers that I think affected me not in the right way. Like for my skin type was not working. So I ended up taking that out, which helped. But then it's like there's always something new that comes out, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, it can't be, you know, it can't be everything that I'm doing, because then you're not, like, able to, like, live your life normally. You know what I mean? But I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll let you know.
See, sometimes it's a process of elimination, and you learn what's helping. I would definitely say if you're dealing with inflamed breakouts, icing is like a simple thing that you can do that really makes a big difference.
Okay.
Like if ice rollers or straight ice, but a few minutes every morning and night, it really just brings down the swelling and will help to smooth everything out faster. It makes a big difference with inflammation. Okay. Yeah, I would recommend trying that. Clean Skin Club towels.
I use those.
I love those.
I use those. Yeah.
Disposable
I've been using
towels.
those too, and they've made a big difference.
Yeah, I also, one thing that I also like started doing, which I know you're technically already supposed to do, but like washing your hands before you touch your face, you know, like, but like crazily, meaning like if I go to grab like my cream, I'm like, before I even put this on my face again, I gotta wash my hands again. Like, so I'm like over washing my hands now.
Wait, you're washing it like twice in your routine?
Yeah, like, no, yeah, so, like, I'll go to, like, get ready for my routine, right?
Okay.
And then I'll go and put on my headband, whatever, like, get
Oh,
ready
then you wash
for
it
it.
again.
Yeah. Then I wash my hands. Then I grab the products that I'm going to use. And I make sure, like, since I went into my drawers that, like, have, like, you know, dirt or whatever, then I wash my hands again before putting any of those products back onto my face.
She's like, you're like cross-checking all the boxes.
I'm telling you, I'm traumatized.
Aw. No, you can get
I feel
for
like
sure.
so kind of. I feel like I know dermaplaning is super popular, but I honestly feel like it's what broke me out too. Because last year my skin was doing amazing. It was so healthy. I remember I took pictures, like I was like bragging about my skin, and then I did dermaplaning. I could feel she went really, really, really rough. And then that's when, like, for 4 months, I was just breaking out. I was getting little tiny little ones, and then they would become inflamed, and they felt
That's
like
what happened to me.
Like
That's how it started.
hair.
Yeah.
And then when I would wear makeup, which obviously it's kind of like I feel like my skin felt very vulnerable without my hair, or without the little fuzzies, and then the makeup would clog it even more. So I know like dermaplaning isn't for everyone,
Yeah.
right? But like, do you just figure that out after getting it done, or is there like any way to know?
I mean, in general, if you're really a reactive skin type, you know, I wouldn't dermaplane, or have a lot of coarse hair, I wouldn't recommend it. But usually if it's truly just peach fuzz,
fuzz.
yeah, you should be a good candidate. But sometimes some clients that are very acne prone, just the process where the hair is coming and regrowing can sometimes trigger a little
Do
bit
you
of
think
a flare-up.
technique also plays into it? Like maybe like going too hard?
It would more be if they went too hard, maybe it just caused that so it can be acne mechanica. It can be the one thing I think is. So if they go too hard, that causes a lot of friction, and that can be a trigger with acne if there's a lot of friction on the skin. So maybe that could have been what triggered you and just caused an eruption.
And I feel like also what happens, like Sam and I were kind of talking about this, I think it was yesterday, that we're like within dermaplaning, you know, like some of us have like more, like you said, more coarse hair than others. Some of them grow more than like faster than others. I feel like what tends to happen with dermaplaning, it's like a lot of people get it done and they'll just wait until like a month or a month and a half until like it's back to normal. And I feel like, I don't know if I'm saying this like correctly or not, but I feel like it should be more often. Like maybe once you start seeing it grow, like get it done again to make sure that it doesn't like, or not really.
I mean, technically, dermaplaning removes about 28 days worth of dead skin cells and hair. So I don't really advise my clients to do it sooner than a month. I mean, yeah, like your hair will start growing before then, but I think it's more if you dermaplaned and you broke out right away, like maybe it's just not for you. I probably
Well, the
wouldn't
only
do it
thing about
again.
laser hair removal is you do have to remove the hair
Yeah.
before getting it done. So it's kind of like I have no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. We'll make it.
It'll get better. I
yeah.
feel like
I feel like it's gonna
it's
help
like
me.
you SDs that are watching
Yeah.
a year from now, like you're gonna have perfect skin.
Gonna be behind. Yes.
Yep.
No, you're on the mend. I would say just go through like the whole list, like, you know, maybe reassess your skincare
Yeah.
routine. I don't know what actives you're using, but exfoliation is really important when you're trying to clear acne. Healing, giving that skin the replenishment, avoiding any clogging is all super important, and really protecting with sun protection. I like a zinc mineral sunscreen is really great because it's anti-inflammatory. And then with inflamed breakouts, I don't know if you've ever tried mandelic acid. I love.
Yes, so I'm using the Skin Script mandelic acid pads, and I actually love them. But now that you're here, I can ask you the question. I do it only at night, like before before going to bed. But lately, when I pass it over my acne, it burns. Like it stings. That I'm like, oh my god, and I have to like go like this to my face because that's how much it burns. And then
More
I'll go.
than normal?
I mean, I guess that's the thing is I don't
Which
know if
pads
it's
are you
normal.
using?
The mandelic acid pads, or is that not what they are?
I think that's glycolic and salicylic.
Oh.
But those you should start off with like twice a week.
Oh, okay.
You drink it every night.
I was doing it every night.
Yeah, this might be too much.
Oh, okay.
Your skin is probably just
Oh,
like
we'll cut that out because that's not the right thing. I didn't say the right thing from Skin Script. Oops. But yeah, so I'm using that every night. Well, I won't do it anymore. But yeah, my skin, I was like, oh my God, it burns. And I have to go like that. And then when I went to go see the allergist, because I had like a one-on-one talk with her before booking the appointment, and she had suggested the La Roche-Posay Cicaplast to put that on at night to kind of like soothe that like extra dryness that I have and that like the inflammation from it. So I started using that, which I kind of like it. Like it really, I feel the soothingness of it at night. And then I wake up in the morning and I feel like my acne is better.
Okay.
But again, you know, it's all a trial. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of doing things and figuring out what works or not. A tip that she did give me, though, I don't know if this is something that maybe you guys can try out, is like she says to put it right here, whatever product like you get that's new, and wait a week. So like if you think it's your foundation, you wear your foundation, rub it, and then take it off, and then wait a week to see if you get any reaction. If you do, then you're allergic to that, you know, or you're acne prone to this specific product. So she suggested to start doing that with anything that I buy that's new, just to test it out before putting it on my face.
I hear that with allergies.
Yeah.
But when you're going to introduce new actives and you're trying to clear a breakout, there is a process that can occur called purging. So you can sometimes break out a little bit in the beginning or have a little sensitivity as your skin's acclimating to these products.
Okay.
So that doesn't necessarily mean that you have an allergy or it's not correct for you. It just also can be, if all that buildup is happening in the pores every day. To get clear, think of a detox. You got to push out all that gunk inside the pores. So sometimes it can surface a little bit as a breakout.
Yeah.
So I hear that in terms of an allergy, but
that was my stomach.
but you just don't. Sometimes that's something you have to keep in mind with the routine. It doesn't mean it's not working for you. It just has to play out and do its thing.
Yeah, and I think too that one thing that's big for like at least those people who wear makeup every single day is the makeup brushes. How often would you say that you should clean your brushes?
I mean, definitely do a deep clean, with like, I like the Cinema Secrets or something deep, like at least once a week, but you should, those like makeup sponges, I don't recommend using. I would try to wash them every day. Have you seen like the videos where they cut them open and there's like
I back in the day, I remember we used to see
fingers.
those.
I liked fingers. Fingers are the cleanest.
Is the only thing
I use a
trust.
brush. No, I use a brush just because, okay, so I've tried the fingers and I've tried brushes. Me personally, I like the feeling of the application of how the foundation lays on my face with the brush rather than with your fingers.
So try like
personally.
They have like antimicrobial brushes and things. You could spray like a hypochlorous acid mist in between or like, a quick refresh, something just to kill bacteria.
Okay.
But realistically, you're not going to do a deep clean of your brushes every day. So I'd say at least once a week and something in between to disinfect it. I love hypochlorous acid because you can spritz it on the face, on objects. It's so great for that.
Yeah. Love it.
So if there's anyone who is interested in coming to see you to either get a facial or just to get educated on their acne, where can they reach out to you?
Definitely can reach out to me on mdrskinstudio.com, and my Instagram is Acne Facials by Marissa or MDR Skin Studio. Send me a message.
So we're going to go ahead and drop all those links down for you, and thank you guys so much for watching this episode. See you next one.
Thank you.